comes, tables wait, the bar's got that swing. Glasses clink, hear the ice cubes sing. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. There's Troy laughing with his gin and a grin, telling stories about where he's been. Boomer's got whiskey, he's loosening his tie, chasing dreams under a midday sky. The bartender knows us, he's mixing with flair. Every sip's a moment we're happy to share. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for the day. The clock don't matter, we're lost in the vibe. Jazz in the air, feel the soul come alive. From martinis to bourbon, we're riding the wave. Stealing this hour, it's the freedom we crave. Sun's still shining, but we're in our zone. This bar's our shelter, our temporary home. One more round before the world calls us back. Savor the moment, keep the blues in the rack. We'll laugh and we'll toast till the afternoon fades. Memories made in these liquid escapades. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun. Our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon. Chasing that jazz under the high noon.
Salud and welcome. Welcome, happy Monday. The start of another week. A great opportunity to get a fresh start. Anything you want to change, you want to focus on this week, now is the time. Although every morning that is true, the first of every month, the new year with all the resolutions and so forth, you can make any time a new start for resolutions. Let's think about that a little bit as we get into saying hi to everyone here in the chat, starting with Big Al of Big Al Presents, saying have a great show, my friends. Happy liquid lunch, everyone. Well, thank you, and same to you, my friend. Always good to see you. Connie Cleary, the bird woman of YouTube. Fluff Chick Productions, wonderful Blue Wrench, great supporter of all the channels that she touches. Welcome, Connie Cleary. So glad to always have you here. Last call with Troy Pacelli. Hello, love of my life. Hello to the love of my life as well. Netter of Netter's Network. She says, like, share, subscribe, become a member, leave a comment, gift a membership if you are already a member. If you're not, why not? What can I do to earn your membership? I try to do as much as I can, not just for my members, but for all of you. Tonight, the members will be enjoying a movie of their choosing, a private stream of Terror on the Prairie with Gina Carano, because the members asked for it. If you would like to join us, you could join us for as little as $2 a month. maybe just sign up for the 1 month because you just want to see the one movie. I don't know. But love to have you as a member on the channel. Also, this Friday, as with every Friday, we always have Last Call with Troy Vicelli on Friday nights at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. This week, very special because the chat put their money where their mouth is. They wanted a karaoke stream, so I will do a karaoke stream this Friday. They even paid a high premium because they desperately wanted this beautiful lady on the screen right here to sing a song or two or more. And she now is committed. She must sing a song this Friday. So something for you all to look forward to. This is why we love our community. And Jonathan Conroy says, hail all, smash the like button and enjoy the show. Yes, I do hope that above everything else you enjoy the show because none of the rest of it works if you're not enjoying yourself here. Merpo! It's Klingon. It means it's lunchtime. Getting the popcorn ready. The only card being held today is a Joker. Yeah. I know what you're talking about there, Mark. I know. I'm with you. I am with you. Let's see here. Saying hi to each other, which is always wonderful. And Geek Flag with Nate knows. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and become a member. Yes, please. All of those things would help me continue to do what I do. That is, assuming you like what I do. So let's get into it. I like to kind of recap some of the things we talked about on Geeky Geezers. This was a bit of a weekend. We had some in remembrances. I felt that one of them stood out so much that I absolutely needed to go ahead and get that clip up like almost immediately. I'm seeing a couple people more pop in here, including Wilky's Movies and Music. Corey, am I misreading, or are you doing your afternoon stream this week a day early? It's showing up on Thursday. I just need to know so I can prepare the forward when I get to that point. Let me know. Or did you set it up for the wrong day? I've done that. People are confused, but let me know, please. And the Horror King, welcome, sir. Good to see you. So, while I wait for see if Corey can get back to me on that, let's get into it. So yeah, the big one, of course, just under the wire for us to have an in remembrance for him last night on Geeky Geezers was Terrence Stamp. That was a big one. And a lot of people now, a day early on Thursday, got done traveling Friday. Okay, there you go. So this Thursday, right after Thursday Talk, we will forward, or is it Thursday Thoughts? I always forget. It should probably be Thursday Thoughts and Tuesday Talk. I think that would work better. Anyway, doesn't really matter, I suppose. But Thursday, I will forward everybody over to Wilky's Movies and Music for Raid. But yeah, Terrence Stamp was a bit of a surprise, and that one came in just as I was getting ready for. It's actually probably a good thing we were running a little bit behind on finalizing those notes and getting the thumbnail put together. And so Boomer and I kind of realized, I guess we could probably squeeze this one in here. We really should. So if you didn't catch Geeky Geezers last night, my most recent video that went up at about 4 hours ago was the clip of that segment. Terrence Stamp, who of course the geek community knows mostly as Zod from Superman 2, also the voice of Jor-El in Smallville. But he has a long history in films, and I guess a lot of people in our community are doing watch parties to honor him this week. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I recommend it. You should definitely check that out. It is. Now that I'm thinking about that movie, and I am thinking about the songs in that movie, I'm suddenly remembering something that someone commented in the chat yesterday about an homage to Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, on an episode of the Drew Carey Show. I think that was actually the first time I became aware of the film, and I'm like, I got to check this out. And then I saw Terrence Stamp in it, and I was like, oh my god, oh my gosh, definitely worth checking out. I'm sure it's out there in the streamerverse and so forth. But yeah, so and this is the other thing. I am more and more not necessarily giving attribution, because oftentimes when these in remembrances get forwarded to me, I'm getting barraged everywhere. I got an email from Mark. I got like 2 or 3 people tag me in X. I had I think deleted. DM'd me, and they all are coming in at once. And it's, luckily I don't have everything connected to my phone. Otherwise, it'd be going ding, 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 ding. And I'd be like, okay, I know Terrence Stamp died. Okay. So yeah, I'm for the most part, unless it's something fairly obscure, but I think still needs to be included. By and large, I'm not giving attributions, but I do appreciate every single time somebody contributes an article or something to Geeky Geezers. But yeah, that one kind of came out of left field. Tristan Rogers, apparently another example of someone who had been suffering with late stage cancer for some time, without, well, I didn't know about it. I don't know how many of his fans might have known he had a health issue or whatever, but that's really, really sad. Again, lung cancer, completely unrelated to tobacco use. Just presumably some other environmental factor he may not have even been aware of. And I did mention yesterday during the stream, just be careful. There's so many toxic, carcinogen components in so many of the things we use all the time. And only just now do we have an administration that's beginning to start looking at and doing the job that the FDA and the Commercial Safety Board should have been doing a long time ago. All along, in fact. Danielle Spencer, remember What's Happening? That was a show that I used to watch in the 70s, watched it continually throughout the 80s in reruns, in syndication. And Danielle's character of Dee was how did the article yesterday describe her? Precocious? I think that's one way to put it. She was the sharp teenager that was sometimes a little bit more clear of vision than the rest of her co-stars, and maybe that played out behind the scenes as well, because it seems that Danielle did not remain in entertainment. She got her degree in veterinary medicine and became a very successful caregiver for animals. So I think that's I actually consider a lot of these stories where you hear about child actors leaving the profession and getting into other professions, and being very successful in life. Those are the real child actor success stories, in my opinion. I question whether it's truly a success story if they continue in entertainment into adulthood, even if they have very successful careers. Just a thought, a Monday musing. Curtis Selby joins us for his lunchtime. Welcome, Curtis Selby. Glad to have you here. Always good to see you. So I'd like to think that the piece we did on the Nintendo Switch being 100% or $100 off of MSRP at Walmart is a good sign. I like to think that market forces can still do what they're supposed to. We complain up and down about Nintendo and the game industry in general and the prices just going through the roof for something they don't even want to let you own. I mean, we've talked about that, and that's a number of separate but related issues. But I'm glad that the retailers are going, no. You're just going to take up space for something that will not sell because you have it priced way too high. Not in our store. So there's something to be said for that. We talked about Jerry Bruckheimer speculating that Johnny Depp will return as Captain Jack Sparrow. Honestly, Disney may have kind of realized that they have no chance of continuing the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, which has been very successful for them. They cannot continue it without bringing back Johnny Depp, if only to do what Ghostbusters did with Afterlife. Bring back the main stars to kind of hand the reins off to somebody else. They have been talking for a while about a Margot Robbie led Pirates movie, which I would not necessarily be opposed to, but if they did it and completely cut out Johnny Depp, there's no continuity between the films. So why? You know, that's like a direct to DVD sequel, you know, where it's just the thing in name only. And I think that audiences are getting wise to that kind of thing. So good for them for at least talking about it, considering and I'm assuming a lot here. This was just talk on Jerry Bruckheimer's part, but it's got to come from somewhere, right? It can't possibly come from nowhere. He's either talked to Johnny. Well, he said he's talked to Johnny. So if there's a possibility, there's got to have been some talk happening somewhere. There's got to be some figures being bandied about. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you want another Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean? Or are you feeling like so many fans have said in the wake of the Gina Carano thing? Yeah, real happy for Gina, but Star Wars is still dead to me, and it's too little too late, and this isn't going to save Star Wars, and I'm not interested. You know, maybe you feel the same way about Pirates of the Caribbean. Let me know. And are you looking forward to the possibility of Margot Robbie playing some sort of a pirate queen? Pirate princess? I don't know. Or has Margot Robbie kind of, run her course in fandom as far as you're concerned? Just curious about that. We talked a lot about, I talked a lot about Star Trek Enterprise which was, of course, prompted by the talk that Scott Bakula is still in talks to revive Enterprise. The project is tentatively being called Star Trek United. I think that's a pretty good name for it. And it looks like it's being proposed regardless of whether it's under Kurtzman or, after Kurtzman leaves and they start something new. Personally, I think it would be a great way to usher in a return to form. Go back to the chronologically earliest storyline, pick it up and complete it. Let's face it, Les Moonves hated Enterprise. He hated Star Trek, and he was going to cancel it no matter how it was doing in the ratings. It was not doing well in the ratings. And as I said last night, I think that was in big part because they focused for too long on this temporal Cold War story and didn't get down to the brass tacks of the Star Trek lore that we wanted in this era leading up to the formation of the Federation and the Federation Romulan War that had been talked about in Balance of Terror. So maybe we can still get that. We'll see. I don't know. Here's hoping anyway. And let's hope that it is under a new regime and not Kurtzman and not J.J. Abrams. Even though we did also have an article that J.J. Abrams will produce the next 2 Star Trek movies. That comes from that Park Place. I wasn't clear if that meant that was just talk that he was going to be doing this, or if he's actually signed, pen to paper. I don't know. Not something I'm very excited about myself, but there you have it. Not a lot of articles that we covered last night. And we don't do a lot of political stuff either. There's been a lot going on in the world, a lot of political type stuff. I'm still very disheartened by all the people that I see out there commenting on social media that make it very clear that they are very ignorant of the topics that they're talking about. They're just regurgitating things that they've heard that just blatantly aren't true. And this is not something new. It's just something that's much more visible because everybody's got the equivalent of a megaphone and can spew their stupidity. But it's always been true. I just remembering my mom and my grandmother always repeating, things that they heard, they thought they knew, that they believed, that they were taught in school, that, has been repeated about events in history that absolutely weren't true, long since debunked, but they still believe it. My grandmother was a big believer in old wives' tales, which not all are false. We find that some of them do have a grain of wisdom in them, but others have been completely debunked by science. And you just can't tell people. You just can't. They've heard it so many times. There is no rationalizing it away. And I try to do this. This is why I feel strongly about every time I talk about, historical films. Even when the argument is, well, this is a fictionalized version of this historic event. I understand that. That's irrelevant. You're talking about a historic event, and unfortunately, it's these kind of fictionalizations of historic events that program people to believe that fictional version of history. And they're not learning real history. And I'm a strong believer that real history is far more interesting than anything you can fictionalize. The people, for example, the people that were on the Titanic had lives and stories that were more interesting and clearly realistic than the fictional characters that were created for that movie with the gem and the, you know, paint me like your French girls and all that kind of stuff. You know, back then people were much more likely to keep journals and have oral traditions that family members you know, could repeat and stuff like that. And someone could have gone and done the research of those people and told their stories, made them the central characters. And I'm not even talking about the people above board, the famous people and so forth. I'm talking, you could have picked a couple people that were, you know, riding in stowage, you know, and below decks. They had stories too. And you could have focused on one of them. And still told a historically accurate story, but they don't do that. They don't do that. So my that defense that, well, it was a fictionalized version of a historic event. You know, if you're going to do that, then do what Mel Brooks did. You know, make it a complete farce where it's very obvious that it is fiction. You know, and you know, maybe then it you know, yeah, you know, I know this is all BS, but now I'd like to find out what it was really like in the Old West, in Rome, in, you know, whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there, see if anything sticks, see if you guys are interested in any of the topics I'm throwing out. That's Monday Musings, right? Just thoughts that I've had about the weekend. One thing I will share too, a little peek behind the curtain. I like to do this. I like to fill you in on how this whole YouTube thing happens and, you know, what my process is. Every Monday morning, I'm updating the promos that I do because, you know, got to go on to a new movie for Saturday, a new topic for Live from Sparkwood 21, all that kind of stuff. And I really enjoy doing that. I really do. It's a great little creative outlet, and I had some fun with the ones that I did today. So I kind of hope you like them. Always interested in your feedback. Want to say hello to Booger. Good to see you, my friend. Oh boy, I got here late for the sticky part. Well, fair enough. But you can always rewind, watch me on chipmunk speed if you want, or you know, catch the first half after the second half. However you want to do it, it's perfectly fine. But the way I want to do it is because we are at about the halfway point. I am going to show you those promos that I'm so excited about and so proud of. Remember, this is not a paid advertisement. This is just me telling you what we've got coming up in our community this week. And I will be back after I've refilled my glass and 3 minutes have passed. See you on the other side.
You are watching Liquid Lunch, streaming every weekday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's sip together. This week on Live from Sparkwood in 21, flu-stricken townsfolk and the crafty Maggie unwittingly do their part to sabotage Joel's plans for a romantic respite with Elaine. After the critics kept trying to compare Northern Exposure with Twin Peaks, this episode of the comedy drama television series about the eccentric residents in the fictitious town of Sicily, Alaska, was their nod back to them. We'll visit this Twin Peaks-influenced town this Tuesday at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes and Affiliates.
The Federation is rebuilding its empire at a breakneck speed, and the planet Helitrax is its latest conquest. Avon and the crew are intrigued. Just what is the Federation's new weapon? What has happened to Servalan? And how could the tenacious Helots have caved in so quickly? Could it be a traitor? This week on Last Call Presents Blake's 7, Tuesday at 10 p.m. Central.
This week on Netter's Network, there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. That's why Netter is sitting down with Stark of Iron.
Troy, not that Stark. It's the Marvel one, not the Ice and Fire one. You know Tony Stark, he makes you feel. He's a cool exec with a heart of steel.
Oh, thanks, Sophia. Well, Netter sits down with Stark of Iron this Thursday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Netter's Network.
This week on Saturday Night at the Movies, when Elizabeth Bennet meets the handsome Mr. Darcy, she believes he is the last man she could ever marry, but as their lives become intertwined, she finds herself captivated by the man she has sworn to hate forever. It's Pride and Prejudice on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, Saturday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern.
Every Sunday evening, Aged Boomer and Papa Pacelli bring you the rundown of the week's geek news, or at least what they think is interesting. You may have heard about it somewhere else, but Boomer and Pacelli put a spin on it you likely won't hear anywhere else. It's Geeky Geezers, every Sunday evening at 8 Central, 9 Eastern.
We now return to our liquid lunch.
And as I was saying at the top of the show, later tonight, members of the channel can join me for a live streaming of Terror on the Prairie with Gina Carano. And this Friday, everyone can join me for a very special karaoke stream. The way we run that is we'll do the first half hour here on YouTube, saying our highs to everybody and sharing out the forwarding stream. We'll move over to the Green Machine after the first half hour, after I've said hi to everybody and gotten the preliminaries out of the way, because over there, you know, I won't be penalized by the platform. So yeah, that's what we got coming up this week. What was I seeing here? So we have Connie Cleary celebrating 14 months of membership. Thank you so much, Connie. Greatly appreciate it. It's been a good year and 2 months, and I really appreciate that. Not just because of your membership, partly because of your membership, but also because of members like Curtis Selby, who joined right around the same time you did. Thank you so much for supporting me all this time. I really do appreciate it. You are good people. Joe's Atmosphere. What are you doing, Booze Hound? I have just finished recapping the weekend, and we're gonna look ahead to what's coming up this week, or at least what we expect from this week. That's what we do when we muse about Mondays. I am trying to trick Uber into a lower fare, and it doesn't always work. I don't know much about how Uber works and how they calculate fares. There's a meme going around with Uber offering a walking buddy for you. They're so desperate for profit. That's kind of funny. I guess Uber's not doing too well financially. They've made some... Uber was a great idea, executed poorly. Executed very poorly. But, yeah. Uber has an interesting business model, but their only survival is the states where they have been able to pretend they are not a taxi company. Well, there are issues with the way taxi companies are handled too. And it's effectively licensure and unionization that are making it almost impossible for the people doing the actual work to actually earn a living. It's flippin' ridiculous, and it really does need to stop. Which is why services like Uber and stuff coming in to break that up could have been revolutionary. It could have been an opportunity for taxi cab drivers to go, you know what? If you don't change the way things are going here, I'll just go work for Uber, and screw you guys. unfortunately, that's not how it went, and so there we go. Was talking about Terrence Stamp at the top of the show. Did an in memorial of him for Geeky Geezers last night. That clip went out this morning at 8 Central. Definitely check that out. You can do as Lynn Green did and drop some comments, some of your favorite roles that I didn't mention and that Boomer didn't mention that we didn't think of. Maybe suggestions of films we might want to see if we want to honor Terrence Stamp. But yes, literally the biggest part of last night's Geeky Geezers was me kind of going on a retrospective, essentially, of Star Trek Enterprise. 4 seasons, but I really love that show. And I think that particular Good Old Days, not only was it, I think, the longest one we've ever done on Geeky Geezers, but it took up almost half the show, because we also had a lot fewer news articles than we usually do. Joe says he did check it out, and I did tell you about 2 roles I love. Okay, I may not have had a chance to check out all the comments. Was busy updating the promos for this week. Still got to get the stream set up for the members' night at the movies tonight. Got to update the streams for Live from Sparkwood in 21 on Tuesday. Have to get up my Blake 7 stream and Netter's Thursday stream. Mondays are the busy day. Mondays are the days I really hit the ground running. I love the Enterprise era Klingon costuming. Yeah. It was, let's face it, they were thinking through some things that Discovery was completely clueless about. Discovery implied a kind of a chaotic disorganization to the Klingon Defense Force that you get the impression that may have coalesced into a more unified Imperial Defense Force under, one Navy instead of all these different houses. By the time you get to the original series, at least that's what seems to have been implied by Enterprise. I thought it was some really good thinking. Again, that was when they were thinking through the lore and the time period that they were in. I watched last night until I had to shut down the computer and go home for my double shift at work. I know, it's tough. It's tough. Let's see. Pekwarski is wanted, and he was the first to play Stick in Elektra. Okay. Klingon costuming was another example of how I could see Enterprise as a precursor to TNG, but not TOS. Well, see, I think you're thinking about it all wrong. There had to be some sort of standardization. The uniforms, if you can call them uniforms, they weren't uniforms. They were effectively, they were treating the Klingon military as like the Huns, right? A group of raiders, right? Not all necessarily under the command of the primary leader of the Klingon Empire. It was all different houses that had their own way of doing things and their own interests over that of the Empire. And that seems to unify more under the original series. Now, the costumes were very, very lacking. That's the one area that I do think that Strange New Worlds costuming, they did look at the original series uniforms. They did look at the Next Gen uniforms and go, can we kind of reimagine the original series uniforms that would lead into what we see in the movie era and the next gen. There isn't much good that I can say about Strange New Worlds, but that is one thing that I can say. I will also say they brought us back to the Klingon aesthetic in terms of their physical look, although their makeup job, you can tell they've moved from foam rubber to silicone, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but they don't do it well. They don't have the makeup techs with the skill of the old timers. So it looks like plasticky, like a plastic helmet on their head instead of organic with skin, which is kind of why you use silicone. Silicone has that translucence that you only get from skin, and lighting of real biological skin. But you have to go in and understand the texture of skin. You want to stipple it so that there's you could see pores and cracks and, the texture that skin has. If it's completely smooth, that's unnatural, and your eye notices it. It says something's not right. I love everything about Enterprise. The last good Star Trek. Pretty true. I would argue it wasn't perfect. Like I said before, I think they spent too long on the temporal Cold War story. The way they wrapped it up made it clear that they understood that, but it was so clunky it left a lot of questions like, so did the Xindi actually attack or not? Is Trip's family still killed? I mean, you can't say you're wiping it away like it never happened, but have some of it still have happened. That kind of stuff doesn't make any sense. Time travel, don't get involved in time travel. Unless it's really self-contained and doesn't have any lasting impact. Welcome, Joe. Yo, Joe. Joe says Terrence Stamp was fabulous and perfectly encapsulated the kneel before Zod dialogue. Zod was perfectly followed by Michael Shannon. I don't have any hope for the DCU, so 2 versions of Zod are enough for me. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue that the characterization of Zod was on point. The problem was that their characterization of Superman was nothing of the kind. I've heard a lot of people say that the Snyder version of Superman was nihilist. I don't think he was a nihilist. I think he was stoic. And I don't mean that in the adjective form of stoic. I mean that in the classical sense of stoicism. And that's not who Superman is either. The household militias we saw in Enterprise were dressed more simply and tribal. However, I could see the logical path to the motion picture TNG battle armor. However, I really didn't see a path to the gold tank tops. Again, that's why I'm saying go check out the Klingon uniforms of Strange New Worlds and think about that a little bit too. Not everything that has happened under Kurtzman Trek is bad, because even a blind pig finds a truffle occasionally, I think it's the makeup on the prosthetic appliances. Yes. I was taught to use shades of red and green and then skin tones to achieve a realistic blending on my forehead piece. Well, again, Mark, remember, you're talking about foam latex. Foam latex very, very well mimics the skin texture. What it doesn't mimic is the ability, and you don't notice this consciously, but 3D modelers are understanding this. are trying to incorporate into games and stuff like that, that skin is slightly translucent. And when light bounces off of it, and when light shines through it, I mean, you see it when you shine a light through your fingers and you see that red coming through, literally through your hand. You can see the bones through your hand if you have a bright light behind it, because your skin is translucent. And that is true on the surface, too. And one of the great things about the medium of silicone is that you can have a lower level. You know, you can level it up so that the outer layer is translucent, but the inner layers have the colors of skin and blood and stuff that you want it to have, so that it can look very realistic. But then you also want to go over it before it sets, or in the mold, you want it to have a texture in it, so it's not perfectly smooth. Your eye will pick that up, and subconsciously your brain will be aware of it, or notice if it's not there. I can remember thinking that Enterprise was bad and would ruin Trek. Then we saw Jar Jar and Kurtzman, and we became nostalgic for Enterprise. I have said this about a lot of properties, that even the bad stuff, because a lot of people like to poke at George Lucas's prequel trilogy, and it's true, they're not as strong as the original, but you compare them to the sequel trilogy under Disney, and you're like, okay, those prequels weren't so bad, and I've said the same thing about Superman Returns. I did not like Superman Returns. I did not like many of the things they did. Didn't like the casting of Lois Lane. Just a lot of real problems with the super stalker Superman and his date. Can't use that word on YouTube. The forget-me-not kiss, so that she forgets that she had a relationship. And gee, where did this baby come from? There's some really serious implications to that. That they really screwed up in Superman Returns. But then the stoic Man of Steel comes along, and it's like, oh, well, at least they tried to continue the story of Superman. This one takes it in a whole different direction. So Snyder's plan for Superman was for him to go evil after Darkseid kills Lois and Clark falls to the anti-life equation. This creates a nightmare timeline where everything has been destroyed and few heroes left. Okay, so they're basically looking for the Injustice storyline. Again, adapting all the wrong things. Because Superman versus Batman was essentially an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns. Again, these are not meant to be stories in the main storyline of these DC characters. These are not heroic characters. These are Elseworld what-ifs that are not heroic. It's literally, hey, what if our hero character was a villain? Well, you know what? Learn to write him as a hero first. And learn to write villains as villains. Quit making villain stories where they're the heroes. Once you do that, then we could talk about what ifs. You gotta learn to walk before you can run, Hollywood. No, that's what I mean. Red green creates the illusion of blood under the shade. Yeah. Right. So if you were to do that on the lower levels of a silicone appliance, and then the outer layer being a translucent layer of silicone, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, that would be good. My biggest problem with J.J. Abrams' Trek was their lack of design for the interior of the starship. Using an old beer brewery was stupid as F. Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. When I returned to returned to Klingon costuming after a hiatus, I made a color mistake. Then I saw the old pictures and realized I had been making the same mistake for years. I'd love to know specifically what that was. One of the big problems that a lot of costumers had with the movie and next-gen era uniforms was the color of the breeches. Most people don't realize they were meant to be brown. The actual costume pants were brown. But under the lighting, they always put the Klingons, that reddish lighting that the ships always had. It ended up looking a deep purple, almost maroon color. So most costumers tended to go for that kind of a color. In fact, my as screen accurate as you can possibly get, breeches are kind of a brownish dyed purple to kind of be somewhere in between. So it kind of looks right under different lightings as well as, natural daylight type lighting. Alex Kurtzman was just as bad with his designs being way too big for the size of the vest. Yeah, this sizing it up. And that does seem to be a very JJ thing, right? I'm gonna do my version of it, and I'm gonna make it just bigger. I don't know what that says about J.J. Abrams. Maybe he feels inadequate, but he did the same thing with Star Wars. Okay, well, the Death Star was a small moon. Now we're going to convert a whole planet into a Death Star. Bigger is not always better. For me, it was the change for its own sake. Yeah, many of the changes J.J. made served no purpose other than letting fans know we were not wanted. I don't think that was the primary purpose. You're right, that is effectively what it did. But the real reason J.J. Abrams changed everything wasn't just change for change. It kind of was change for change's sake. It was because the only way he made money on the Star Trek brand is if it was clearly on his version of the Star Trek Star Trek brand. Star Trek, Kirk, all that stuff belonged to Paramount. So any monies for anything before J.J. Abrams came along, the true prime timeline, all went to Paramount, CBS, and the people that created stuff throughout the years. If J.J. Abrams wanted to collect any kind of royalties for his movies, his version of the ships and the models and the action figures and the things, they had to be a different style that were visually obviously different. Now, the fact is, because that he did that, those things did not sell. So it didn't end up working out for him. It did not end up working out for the right holders. It was just bad all around. I like the casting of Lois Lane in Superman Returns. I didn't like Amy Adams in Man of Steel. I liked the casting of Amy Adams herself. Did not like the way they wrote the character. Did not like anything about the writing of the Lois Lane in Superman Returns. And no, I have to disagree with you about that Lois Lane. I felt she had no chemistry with anyone in that movie. Pick an eye color, girl. Okay? One eye or the other. Pick one and put a contact lens in the other one. You're an actress. Do it. And another thing I'm going to say about Amy Adams. Don't know if you know this, but Amy Adams was originally supposed to play Lois Lane in Smallville before they decided to go ethnically ambiguous. So in my reimagining of Smallville, yes, I am still working on that project. Amy Adams was Lana Lang. Brandon Routh was great in Superman Returns. I agree with you 100%. Another one. See there, he wore the contact lenses. Superman's supposed to have blue eyes. Brandon Routh wore blue contact lenses. Boom. And so was Spacey. Yes, actually Spacey was a and especially when you're supposed to imagine that these were the same Superman and Lex Luthor that were originally played by Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman. I thought they cast actors that were a good, that I could see. I could say, okay, yeah, I could see those being the same people, you know. But the deadbeat dad storyline's like, yeah. Oh gosh, it was more than deadbeat. Oh, you mean Superman being the deadbeat dad? I was thinking about the Kevin Costner, I would rather die than be your father type storyline. But that's a whole other storyline. A lot of people complain about Zack Snyder's Batman, who was a ruthless punisher because of Bruce's PTSD Kryptonian invasion. However, I liked this dark Batman who blended criminals, branded criminals, and was mean-spirited. It's fine that you like that, Joe. That's just not who Batman is. He's not. And it's also why I think the Dark Knight Returns, which was never meant to be anything like a mainline storyline. It was meant to be a cautionary what if. How that became mainline, it tells me everything I need to know about the modern generation and the coarsening of our society, where we've given up hope and true heroism, and we have embraced nihilism and vigilante justice. It's not what heroism is. Zack Snyder's DCEU was entirely made of the Elseworld stories. Yeah, that's exactly right. Which is why it's very easy for me to ignore it now. JJ turned Trek into Star Wars. The mining ship was the Death. I hadn't considered that before, Darth Plato, but you're absolutely right. That's an excellent point. Yes, 25% different, exactly. What merchandise? Well, you'd have had to have gone to the clearance aisles and to Ollie's to find it, Mark. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah, Amy Adams' Lois Lane did real journalism in Man of Steel. Found Clark. I thought that was badass. Yep, and it does look like they're doing that with the Lois Lane in this this new one too. The whole doing the interview thing, knowing we don't know the circumstance that this Lois Lane came to know his secret identity, but it would be cool to find out that maybe she figured it out, you know, because she's clever that way. That would have been cool. Some people are allergic to that. Well, look, I welcome, by the way, Gorilla's Random Thoughts. I understand that, but it's unfortunate. There are some people that are bald and can't grow hair. You know, there are some people that are one skin color and can't be another. Sometimes you don't get the role because of that. You have to be the blank slate for someone else to do their story on. You know, sometimes you got to shave off the mustache to play the role. You know, just saying. And yeah, he was auditioning for Star. That's another element that people overlook. We tend to think about, you know, things as if we were professionals that were shepherding properties owned by somebody else and saying we got to do the best job, you know, with what we have for the fans, blah, 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 blah. And that's not what these people are doing. All they care about is forwarding their own careers, making themselves look good, preparing for the next job, getting their own vision and story out there, cultural Marxism, you know, all these kinds of things. They have completely different plans than we do. Netter is saying, please like, share, subscribe, become a member, leave a comment, maybe gift a member if you are so generous and inclined. That's kind of her way of saying I'm actually running over time. I should wrap this up. I do have a lot of editing to do, and I got streams to get going for you guys throughout the rest of the week. Looking forward to this week. I hope you guys are too. I very much enjoyed our liquid lunch together. I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and every day that we can share some time together. You guys take care, and I will see you on the next one.
Goodbye. Hope to see you again real soon.
So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun, our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon, chasing that jazz under the high noon.